Okay, so these are the October 2012 instructions for Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a package, a framework that anybody with any basic HTML knowledge can just use and begin building a project. It's already pre-built, or take the parts from it, or do a lot of things with it. It's built on mobile-first technology, so you know it's good, and you know it's current, and you know it's modern. Unlike the assignment that is showing you directions on how to use Bootstrap 3, and I do have a Bootstrap 4, but rather than rehashing that one as well, let's just start afresh. And by that I mean let's go to GitHub, where our websites live. I have my repository, itsc1411. .github.io. That's the one for this class. You may be watching this video for a different class. It's whatever your username is, .github.io should be the one repository that you have, unless you backed up your old repository, in which case it will also show up here under something different. That being said, why am I talking about the repository so much? Well, we could put the Bootstrap in your repository, but for some of the classes I also want to take the opportunity to show you how to use a separate repository to build a website within the same account. How about that? Isn't GitHub great? Well, it's getting there. I think it is. I think it's a great technology. It's used all over the place. It's used by lots of people. I was going to say millions? Maybe. I don't have the numbers. I'll look them up. At any rate, let's create a new repository. There's a button right here. If you don't see this, if instead you were here because you have a bookmark, because it's your repository after all, let's click on the cat, the octocat over here, and once again, find this area, click on New, create a new repository. And I'm waiting for the pop-up. Remember, millions of people using this. There you go. And your repository name. Here is my username, ITSC1411, at least for this class. So I've been telling you in this class and others to create a new repository that's going to be your username.github.io, because that's where your websites live. Well, that's where one website lives. You can have multiple websites inside your account. So for this account, or for this repository, let's call it something simple. Let's not get too excited with the repository names, because now you have a new one. You know, hey, I'm going to put in 25 letters plus numbers. Let's instead, I'm going to call it something boring like GH instead of GitHub. I'll say GH hyphen F Rodriguez, which is too long. But there it is. It's available, and well, sure it is, because I don't have any other repositories. Although there might be other people with the same initials that want to use something like that. Hopefully they don't have the same account I do. Description, I can skip it or just type in my GitHub account will live here. Well, it's not really an account, it's a website. And it's not really GitHub, it's Bootstrap. And public is fine. I will add a README file. I'll skip the license because this is all going to be on GitHub, on Bootstrap's rules for publishing. So I click on Create Repository, give it a few seconds, and I have a new repository. It's called GHF Rodriguez. If I click on my username, you'll see I have two repositories. I have my username.github.io, and now I have a new one called GHF Rodriguez. This one was an online space for my class. This is also an online space for my class, but it's separate. Don't think of it as a separate directory. Maybe think of it as a separate drive. You're in another server. It's all in one big place, somebody else's computer. I clicked on it to visit what's in here, and there's nothing because we need to start to add files, right? But before we put in any files, let's give this new repository its due by clicking on Settings, and then scrolling down. All your repositories have similar settings. The one that I'm interested in here is Github Pages. GitHub Pages is designated to host your personal, organization, or project pages. This means that it's sort of outside the scope of GitHub of just storing files. It will store files, but then it will make them public. So by creating a new repository, you have to tell it, well, is this the master branch? Is this the main branch? Whatever. We've already used our master branch for your class. You're using it on your other website. So I'm going to click on the source and click on main. That way it'll be, this new branch will be the main branch unless you start to add more, and then you'll have different options. The root is fine. I'm going to skip the theme chooser. I'll just click on save. Once it's saved, now it will tell you when you scroll down to see what's going on with your GitHub pages that your site is ready to be published at, not the old one, but still it's ITSC1411. This is my username.github.io, which is my other website, /GHF Rodriguez. That is the new branch, or rather the new repository name that I created. I'm going to right click on that and tell it to open the link in a new tab. It's going to have just a README file. So my Bootstrap account will live here. This is no longer in itsc1411.github.io. Instead is in its own repository space in the main branch. Okay, I'm going to leave that open because I'll need it later. And I'm going to scroll back to the AutoCAD and just be in the main page where I can see that I have two repositories, my original one with the github.io and the new one that I created, GHF Rodriguez. Click on that and here's my space. Here is where we're going to start to add the files. So let's go to add file and create a new one. And let's just sort of be boring with this one. I'm going to call it, I'll call it bootstrap.html. I could call it, maybe I should call it index.html, but you know what? Yeah, let's call it index.html. And then here is where our grade code will go. I promised, I think, in the assignment that you will not be downloading any code, and that's my goal. We will be using some of these links. First of all, let's click on Bootstrap, pay them a visit. These are the guys that put together this big framework. I'm going to click on download. Did I lie to you? We're going to download something? No, that's where it is. This is where we scroll down a little bit, and there's this link. It says Bootstrap Cdn. So you can visit the Bootstrap Cdn website. It'll tell you a little bit more about it. Or you could just copy this. We will not be copying this yet. We will be coming back to copy it though. I do want to open it. I will also open the Bootstrap Examples. And for the assignment, at least the old one, I told you to use the one of the examples. So the examples are here. I asked you to click on and use Jumbotron. And here is the Jumbotron. It's already all built. It's built for somebody else though, right? And it's built for everybody else. And let's be part of that big crowd. Let's right click on the page and view the page source. All of this page source works great on their server. I'm going to click anywhere where there's no text and then I'm on a Mac, I'll press Command A if you're in a PC, Control A if you are in a Chromebook, Control A to copy. You can also right click and copy. And then go back to our GitHub in the new file and paste. Command V for me, V as in Victor, Control V for everybody else. Here's all the code. Remember, if you watched the other videos, I asked you to download the CSS and the JavaScript and all that, the jQuery into your system. Here, we're going to depend on the CDN, which is a separate network. I'm going to close the code and the Jumbotron code and go back to the Bootstrap CDN. I'm going to click on copy to clipboard so that it's in the clipboard. Then go back to the new file and see where it says the Bootstrap core CSS is trying to link to a document. We don't have those documents here, and we won't have them. I'm going to click on no wrap to change to soft wrap. And then this line, line 15, I'm going to delete. Press Command V as in Victor to paste. Give myself a little bit more space. All this is doing is, rather than saying, hey, look for the stuff that we downloaded and put in a separate directory, it's going to say, when it comes to the style sheet, when it comes to the CSS, when it comes to the JavaScript, go to these other places to get them. We live in an online world. So I'll scroll down, click on Commit New File. And I should be back into my repository in ITSC 1411 inside of GHF Rodriguez. And we have an index page. I'll click on that just to keep it open. And unlike the other files that I can just go and say, hey, take me to gh_rodriguez/index, this will not necessarily work anymore, and that's why I kept this open. My website actually lives on the repository.github.io/gh_rodriguez because we called it index.html. Hopefully when I press enter, it will load the Jumbotron that we just copied. So if you did follow the directions, the old directions, and it took you long enough to get to this point, now what happens next is that you will go into your Bootstrap, open up your index, and change the headings and change the text and start playing with the code and make this your own really quick. So it says hello world on top, right? Let's find that. Let me click on the pencil to edit, Command F, and say hello world, right? Because that's what I'm looking for. Get closer to it. Hello. There it is. It's on line 88. And here, I'll just say hello world. I don't have to say hello world. I'll say that this is going to be Francisco's GitHub page. And I keep on calling Bootstrap GitHub Bootstrap page. This is a template, etc. That's this text right here. We're going to replace it with your own. We will not be necessarily clicking on or trying to change the buttons just yet. Just know that that is available to you. We'll go down to the container where there you'll see the multiple headings that you can change as per the last video if you watched it. And then scroll down, commit the changes. Any changes that you make, great. Like I said, I encourage you to play with the code. It would take a few days of lessons to get everything wrapped up around Bootstrap, what it does, what it can do for you, what the exercises might be that you want to do. You don't have to necessarily stick with the with this template. That's just one that's easy to use, and it's easy to demonstrate why Bootstrap is so popular. If this were actually being viewed on a mobile device, it is totally adapted to it on a smaller screen. Francisco's Bootstrap page, maybe my name's too long, but it will still work. So, are we done yet? Well, for this exercise, yes, but that's only the beginning of your Bootstrap experience if this is something that you're going to keep on doing. If you're going to be doing any web page design later in your career, in your internship, etc., in your personal life, yes, I mean, this is a great resource. It's lots of knowledge, lots of resources out there to consult. To turn in this assignment, I need this link. If you did it from this one, I'm going to copy that, Command C, Control C on a PC or Chromebook. Go to the assignment. Make sure that you are in the assignment. Scroll to the bottom, and not in add comments. Well, maybe in add comments. Oh, there you go. Assignment submission. Write submission and paste your link. Command V on a Mac, Control V everywhere else. V as in Victor, and submit. And we'll see you in the next lesson.